You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
Postseason time across minor league baseball as we welcome you into this week's edition of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. Hi, everybody. I'm Tyler Maughan. Sam Dykstra is at MILB headquarters in New York City. Hi, Sam.
Hi, Tyler. How are you? How are you back in America?
I'm good. I went out to breakfast today and got a cinnamon roll doused in both frosting and bacon. So I'm really back to America. But no, I'm good.
The flag right into your veins.
Exactly. Just taking it, mainlining the flag into my veins. No, I'm good. I was in South Korea for the last week. For those who may have missed last week's edition of the show, did some broadcasts for the Women's Baseball World Cup, which is currently in its second round. The United States will not be medaling for the first time in the history of that event. So, in case you were wondering, that's the story there with Team USA. But more baseball to be talked about, and it is right here on the MILB.com podcast, which you can find, by the way, here in our 75th episode, which we discovered last week is the Diamond anniversary. But it turns out there are like 40 different Diamond anniversaries just because the Diamond industry wants to huck diamonds to you all the time. But either way, this episode, which we'll call our Diamond Edition, is right now available where you're finding it on iTunes, on the Stitcher app, and also at MILB.com/podcast. You can find us all those spots, and you can give us a rating and a review and a subscription wherever you find us and listen to us. And as always, we thank you so much for tuning in. Got a good show coming up for you today. One playoff series that has already wrapped up, among others, is the 2016 Gulf Coast League season, which came to a close with the GCL Cardinals claiming the title there, and GCL Cardinals star and 2016 St. Louis Cardinals first-round draft selection Dylan Carlson will join the show. Talking to Dylan coming up here in just a little bit about his debut pro season, winning a GCL title, all that kind of fun stuff, but that a little bit down the road. Today, we dive into Three Strikes with postseason action, which has started all across the levels in minor league baseball and is underway at the game's highest levels, AA and AAA. Here are the early returns through one game in these series. By the time you listen to this, Game 2 will have elapsed in most, if not all, of these, weather-dependent and otherwise. But the Northwest Arkansas Naturals and Midland Rockhounds, each with a 1-game-to-none series lead in the Texas League. The Jackson Generals on a Tyler O'Neill walk-off homer with a 1-game-to-none series lead in their Southern League playoff set. Pensacola also up 1-game-to-none in their half. Trenton and Akron with Game 1 victories in the Eastern League. Nashville and Tacoma with Game 1 victories in the Pacific Coast League. And Scranton, Wilkes-Barre, and Gwinnett up 1-game-to-none in their stories. Sam, the early storylines in AA and AAA postseasons, take us away.
Yeah, so some interesting stuff last night. Playoffs really get started in earnest. Focusing on these kind of top two levels. The fact that the Gwinnett Braves are up right now in their series 1-0 after winning that horrible IL South. We talked about it last week and previously. Just that race was all teams, below 500.
They won the division at 13 games under 500. They were 65-78 and won the division.
So Gwinnett Braves forever fighting against the dying of the light, get a 1-0 advantage there on Columbus. That's just fascinating to me because that team, you look at even down to prospects, it's not incredibly interesting who's there. They're actually sending Aaron Blair tonight, so they get a rehabbing major leaguer getting a start, which always feels a little unfair.
Yeah.
But if you remember what the minor leagues are for, it's just a feeder system for the majors. So these guys need to get starts, they need to get innings, they need to get at bats. Andre Ethier, played in I think it was a 16-inning game for Rancho Cucamonga yesterday. So these things happen. But that would be just hilarious if Gwinnett uses a good start from Aaron Blair, gets a 2-0 lead over Columbus. We'll see. Have to see how that shakes out.
And that does happen a bit in the minors. There were, I believe, 2 players for the Trenton Thunder who made playoff appearances in rehab starts. I know Andy Pettit made a rehab start for them. Yeah. And I believe in that same year, they also had somebody else on the roster during the postseason. But either way, I mean, yeah, like you said, when you think about the minor leagues, the way they're supposed to be used, I mean, this is the point of them. It doesn't matter to the Atlanta Braves if the Gwinnett Braves are going to give innings to Aaron Blair in a rehab start if it's the playoffs. It works just the same for them. So it's kind of the point.
Yeah, for sure. One other thing I kind of want to touch on for me personally, and then I'll throw it back to you, Tyler, just at these AA and AAA levels. We talk so much in the majors about guys who win awards and how winning matters, and we can have that debate another day of whether that's a crock or whether there's actually something to that. But Tyler O'Neill, last night getting that walk-off homer to give Jackson a 3-0 win over Montgomery. I mean, he's the guy you wanted in that position if you're the Jackson Generals. This is the Southern League MVP, competed for the Triple Crown in that league, competed for the slash line Triple Crown in that league, and then comes up first game, kind of plays the, what forever be in my mind is the David Ortiz role of just the guy walking off and in that big spot, the guy you want performing in the clutch. That's, again, another debate whether the clutch actually exists, whether that's a tool or not. But, if he can put together a postseason that's just moment after moment of things like this, we don't vote for Milbies until after the season. A lot of publications right now are putting out their hitters of the year, their offensive players of the year. USA Today named Alex Bregman its minor leaguer of the year. MLB Pipeline today named Alex Bregman its hitter of the year, and Tyler Glasnow its pitcher of the year. Baseball America has its first team and second team all minor leagues out. We'll get to our kind of awards in a couple months after this stuff dies down a little bit and we can read the landscape a little more. But if Tyler O'Neill puts on some crazy run, I might consider him over Bregman. I'm not going to immediately say that's the case. And I'm not going to put a whole lot of stake in just a couple game sample here, but man, that would be one heck of a story that would be awesome to tell if Tyler O'Neill just puts together a lot of these moments, leads Jackson to a AA title. It's just a thought I have. We can discuss it again next week. He could go 0-16. Yeah, he could get, Montgomery could take the series, and we're not talking about this again. And Bregman, even if O'Neill does all these things, I still probably will vote for Bregman for Offensive Player of the Year when Milby's come out. But it's just food for thought. That's all I'm saying. I'm just throwing it out there.
Okay.
If people think I'm wrong, feel free to tweet me. I'll explain myself, all that kind of jazz. But it was a really fun moment last night with Tyler O'Neill, and we'll see where it goes from there.
The Tyler O'Neill topic segues us to the topic that I want to discuss, and this is a larger picture topic than just the minor league playoffs in 2016, but that's where it starts, because let me run you through a list of playoff contenders right now, teams that are in postseason series by name. The Tacoma Rainiers in the Pacific Coast League semifinals. The Jackson Generals, obviously talking about O'Neill in the walk-off victory yesterday. The Bakersfield Blaze, who are currently in the California League's first round. The Midwest League's round one. Clinton Lumber Kings have a 1-0 series lead there. The Northwest League, the Everett Aqua Sox, will play in the semifinals of that circuit. And in the Arizona League, the AZL Mariners swept the AZL finals for a championship there. So what do those teams all have in common? They're all Mariners affiliates. Last year, the Seattle Mariners, as an organization, posted the 6th worst winning percentage in minor league baseball. Their affiliates went a combined .392 and .444. It was a .469 winning percentage. It was the 5th worst mark sixth worst mark in baseball. The Washington Nationals, Colorado Rockies, Los Angeles Angels, Milwaukee Brewers, and Miami Marlins were the only teams worse. Now, as Sam kind of noted, does winning really matter? We're not really sure what exactly it means as far as development, yada, yada. But the Mariners made sweeping changes to their player development staff over the offseason, and we had an interview with the Mariners' new director of player development, Andy McKay. And when we talked with Andy McKay, one of the points that he continuously hit was these guys need to learn how to win together at the minor league level. And what does that mean for 2016? The Mariners, as an organization, were the best team among overall organizational standings in all minor league baseball. Their teams went .451 and .314, a .590 winning percentage. Every one of their affiliates is in the postseason, and that's not with some massive changeover and some big overhaul in the system. This This isn't a Phillies-like rebuild. This isn't the Astros 5 years ago. There's talent in that system that wasn't there in 2015. Kyle Lewis obviously comes to mind, the draft selection, Dan Vogelbach, a trade acquisition, those types of things. But this is not some massive sea change we've seen in the Mariners system, and the turnaround there is remarkable, especially because of the fact that that's a philosophy that Andy McKay very much wanted implemented for that organization. But that fascinates me about this year's playoffs. The Mariners, terrible a year ago, bring in that new front office culture. All of a sudden, everybody's winning. Everybody's in the playoffs.
Yeah, and you wonder how much of that is kind of fickle. I mean, it is the minors. It's how you group teams together. It's all that kind of stuff. And they always talk about, to a man, every farm director will tell you, we love winning. I mean, we want our guys to win. We want them to get to the majors knowing what it feels like to win. They're not going to be overly disappointed if that's not the case. I mean, you can build a winning atmosphere with the right collection of guys in the major league level, but for it to work this well in year one is just fascinating. And like you said, I mean, I remember I did the farm system rankings at the beginning of the year, and the way you kind of write it up is like Alex Jackson was the only top 100 candidate even at that time. That was, Tyler O'Neill had questions about coming out of the Cal League. Kyle Lewis, like you said, not in the system yet. Luis Gohara, just had struggles in lower levels, hadn't really gotten above Class A, hadn't pitched really a full season even.
We weren't sure what to make about DJ Peterson as of yet. He'd had the one great year, the injury, some inconsistencies. There were a lot of guys with question marks in that system.
Right, and some of those question marks still remain, but a lot of those guys are certainly ticking up. I mean, O'Neill is a solid top 100 prospect now, might even be top 50. Gohara looks like a future, mid-rotation guy, if not higher. His ceiling is pretty high as a big left-hander. So there's just been even player development this year, not just winning, but the players are decidedly better in that system. And it would be interesting to see how it's going to pay off in the playoffs. We'll get to this in our next segment, but you mentioned the AZL Mariners. I always find that fascinating of these lower level circuits, specifically the complex levels. This is the first taste of pro ball for a lot of these guys. So what is that first taste going to be like? Is it going to be sour? Is it going to be sweet? Is it, are they going to dread having to show up to the park every day, or is it going to be a fun atmosphere? For those AZL Mariners, it seems like it was going to be a fun atmosphere this summer. Now, what does that translate to going forward?
Pretty crazy. This is a pretty crazy turnaround for the Seattle Mariners system. If you are an M's fan, a lot to be high on. And, oh, by the way, you've graduated guys like Edwin Diaz, who came into the year, some question marks. People didn't really know how he was gonna fare. Gets promoted right from Double-A and becomes a frontline guy. Who's so far through 39 games in his major league career has an ERA of 2.48. I mean, this is the stuff. The Mariners right now are kind of everything they're touching is turning to gold, and that's an organization that's needed that for a while. They've needed that infusion of excitement. It seems like it's happening, but that really stood out to me. There's so many other good storylines in the playoffs, but thinking back on that Andy McKay interview and then looking through the minor league postseason field, it's like, wait a minute. Seems to be a common thread in a lot of these leagues.
Yeah, no, for sure. We touched on Milby's before. Mariners will certainly be a nominee. I'm going to start putting those together within the next week, but they'll certainly be a nominee for top farm system. So yeah, if you agree with us, you can vote for them then. And we'll see how the staff votes. We haven't really taken an unofficial poll or anything like that, but that story, whether it's in that Milby story or through some other way, we'll have to tell, when the dust kind of settles. This offseason.
Strike one, higher level playoffs. Strike two, lower level playoffs. From Class A advance on down, the California League and the Carolina League. Obviously a big storyline with Bakersfield, final season there. The Blaze trying to go out with a flourish. They trail the San Jose Giants after game one, with game two coming up in that series. Carolina League, Myrtle Beach trying to defend a Mills Cup title from 2015. Florida State League, the Bradenton Marauders already into the Florida State League finals with a 2-0 series win over St. Lucie. Full season Class A. South Atlantic League and the Midwest League underway in their sets as well, and the New York Penn League, the Northwest League. The Appy League is already wrapped up. The Johnson City Cardinals with a sweep to win the Appalachian League crown. We'll talk about that a little bit coming up here in just a little while with our guest today, Dylan Carlson, who is part of the GCL winning GCL Cardinals, and of course the Pioneer League and the AZL. We talked about the Mariners as well. So a lot of series going on, and they're very quick series at these lower levels. Who's sticking out to you there?
Yeah, so we mentioned the Cardinals kind of the same way, just to transition from the Mariners, talking so much about them. The Cardinals already have 2 championships. 3 have been awarded, 2 have been Cardinals affiliates, and they're both at lower levels. So Johnson City and the GCL Cards both get wins. Those are levels where a lot of these guys are getting their first taste of minor league action. Like I said, I just find that fascinating of what is your introduction to pro ball and what does that mean for your future? I know a couple of years ago, the GCL Nationals, I wish I could remember the year off the top of my head. I want to say 2013.
Yeah.
Just had a crazy winning percentage, around 700, I want to say. Easily the best in the minors. And we haven't really heard that much about the prospects from that team since. So it doesn't always portend future success. But
that team,
it's
by
better
the way,
than the alternative.
It was 2013. That team went 49-9.
Yeah.
An 845 winning percentage.
So I was
28-2 at home.
Yeah. They definitely won the Milby that year for Team of the Year. Thankfully, they won the championship too, so it made it easy for us. But so for a lot of these guys, this is their introduction to the playoffs. I'll touch on Gleyber Torres, this isn't his introduction to the playoffs. He actually played in the playoffs last year with Class A Advanced Myrtle Beach in the Cubs system, helped them win a Carolina League championship. Didn't do that great in those playoffs, but was there for the experience. Now, he's been traded to the Yankees system, now playing with Jorge Mateo on that really good Tampa infield. That would be really interesting to see him get 2 titles with 2 different organizations, both at the Class A advanced level. Just in case there's somebody who doesn't know the entire story, Torres was promoted at the very end of last year, so he spent almost all of the year at Class A South Bend, got pushed up to Myrtle Beach just for those playoffs. So this is not a guy who's necessarily repeating a level. It's more just, last year they wanted to push him, just see what they could get at the end of the year. Now he's getting a more full Class A advanced experience. They weren't quite ready to push him up to Trenton just to, that is certainly a big jump going high A to double A. So they just wanted him to find his success in his new organization. That would be really cool if he were to get 2 rings in 2 years like that. And it would certainly be a good first step in the Yankees system. And we'll talk more about what that's going to mean for Torres and Mateo going forward, how the Yankees are going to handle them as a group. But if they were to get a ring in their first partnership, that would be fascinating for me.
Minor league playoffs at the upper levels and the lower levels going on right now, and there's a lot of good stuff in those lower level series. A lot of them are so much quicker. I mean, the California League is kind of the one that stands out to me with Bakersfield, obviously, but the little mini series that those teams take on in the California League before getting to the league semifinals, but those quick best of 3 series. I mean, it's a sprint. You got to be ready. You got to be ready right out of the gate in those series, and so you can watch all those games. The ones that have MILB TV coverage, you can find at MILB.com. And with that, we'll switch it up to Strike 3. Get out of some postseason talk and just talk about this season in general. 2015, year of the prospect. 2016 really came with a lot of that same graduation of talent, but the way the bar was set 2 seasons ago kind of made us, I think, feel somewhat spoiled in that you look at guys like, Dansby Swanson who make their major league debut this year, guys like Lucas Giolito, Julio Urias. And it didn't feel necessarily like last year, but there were a ton of top talent guys who moved into the big leagues this year and really defined the minor league season. But when you look back at 2016 in the way that this season played out as a whole, what stands out to you the most?
Yeah, I think we have more questions than answers after this season is over than we did coming into it. After last year was the year of the prospect, we kind of said, okay, what's next? What does this mean going forward? And, I would kind of think of this was the year maybe we put the brakes on that a little bit. Maybe last year's class was just super special. I mean, that's certainly possible. graduating Chris Bryant, graduating Addison Russell, a bunch of different guys doing extremely well at the major league level. I'm looking at what the prospect list was before they updated it for 2016. So this is the end of 2015. Top 10 prospects: Byron Buxton, Corey Seager by far and away the universe rookie of the year.
Yeah.
Lucas Giolito, Julio Urias, J.P. Crawford, Joey Gallo, Tyler Glasnow, Yohan Moncada, Brendan Rodgers, and Dansby Swanson. And then we could keep going. Trey Turner, Orlando Arcia, that's the top 12. Of those, only Crawford and Rodgers didn't play in the majors this year.
Yeah.
So, the guys kind of got pushed this year. After last year, we kind of thought, well, maybe major league teams would push their top young talent to the majors and see if they could sink or swim, and they did that. And I can't, with the exception of Seager, maybe a lot of these guys didn't exactly swim in the way that we always hoped they would. I mean, you wanted to see Lucas Giolito just take the world by storm, kind of be that next guy next to Zimmerman and Strasburg, and that hasn't quite happened yet. Glasnow has some injuries, I know, with his shoulder, but hasn't taken the world by storm yet in the majors either. Moncada gets the call up. He might be the most aggressive of the group, or might feel that way between him and Swanson. He's striking out left and right. It's early days yet for that, but I don't know. My next question is, what does this mean for next year? I mean, does this mean that they're going to be cautious again, or does this mean that we're going to keep trying to hammer this out? I honestly don't know. Maybe it's a little too close. But in terms of prospects news, I mean, we can talk about this might be the year we remember as one of the final years of the final year of a 10-team California league, and a lot of shifting plates going into 2017. So this kind of feels like the last chapter or last page in a chapter of minor league baseball from that aspect. But from a prospect point of view, I didn't get as many answers this year as I thought it was. I think that's as plainly as I can put it.
I agree that last year felt so unique in the way that not only did all this top talent graduate, but it all graduated and all made impacts in big ways. And this year feels more like a normal season where guys are going to sink a lot in their early stages of major league careers. And you know what? Honestly, that almost feels like a return to normalcy rather than, oh man, last year all these guys are ready, call everybody up, everybody's set to go for the big leagues. It almost feels like you kind of like watching prospects struggle at the major league level, because when they figure it out, it's so much more gratifying. Even in the last few weeks, Julio Urias takes the ball, and every time he does, it's kind of appointment television. But especially over the last few weeks when he's really, really started to look good, that's what's so fun about how these guys develop once they get to the major league level. You expect that curve to take a dip for a while from the minor league success and then start gradually climbing back up, which is what made 2015 so unique. But one of the things you noted that I think really stands out to me as the story of 2016 is a lot of change at the minor league level in 2015 and 2016, but especially this year from a franchise standpoint, with Bakersfield and High Desert no longer being a part of the California League going into the 2017 season. I think that really, with as unique of a storyline as that is, not just teams moving, but a reshaping of leagues for the first time really in a generation that we've seen. That's what really stands out to me about this season, because it's very bittersweet. It's really exciting for the people of Kinston. It's really exciting for the people presumably of Fayetteville, which will be the other Carolina League city, and it's really exciting for fans in the Carolina League who will get to see prospects from two other organizations come into their ballparks and all that fun kind of stuff. But obviously very sad for especially Bakersfield, with the way that team had been around, a founding member of the California League dating back 75 years, and High Desert as well. Definitely some bittersweet moments. And, we also saw a crazy story like the Hartford Yard Goats, who spent the entire season away from home. We thought initially that Hartford was going to open that ballpark, Dunkin' Donuts Park, back in May. That was the initial. Actually, I think April was the initial projection, the end of April. And then that situation continued to get a little bit more muddied as the season went along. By the end of the year, the Yard Goats were on the road for 161 days, I think was the final tally. And that is nuts. And the Yard Goats were a very good team throughout. So that's one of those crazy stories that I think will stand out when we look back at 2016. But it really felt like another one of those watershed seasons. The last two have been pretty big that way, which has been cool.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know. When I first thought of this topic, I thought it would kind of flow out of me, and it would just be so easy to kind of categorize this year. And I don't know. Maybe we're still a little too close to it. Maybe something big is still yet to come that will define how we remember this. Maybe we'll remember it as the year we'll get back to this later with Ben, but maybe we remember it as the time the Pizza Rats took over minor league baseball.
Pizza Rats.
Yeah, but there's still enough baseball left that we could have another storyline or two that helps define how we look back at this season for sure.
Well, you know what it's going to end up being? It's going to end up being the year of Tebow.
Yeah.
That's what it'll be. By the end of 2016, Sam. That's what it'll be. When he goes out and hits 900 in instructs and proves us all wrong. Oh, wait, that's right. He's not going to all of instructs because he has a prior broadcasting commitment. Here's the story. We said we'd talk about it as a foul ball today. One Timothy Richard Tebow, a former player on the gridiron in the sport of American football, has signed a minor league contract with the New York Metropolitans and will report, at least part-time, to Instructional League, which I think could be encapsulated a lot of what I would imagine many minor league players are feeling. Many minor league players are very excited about this move, but a lot of them probably feel somewhat the same way as Daniel Palka, who tweeted this from the Minnesota Twins system. Bob Nightingale of USA Today tweeted, quote, Sandy Alderson acknowledges that Tim Tebow won't be available every day in Instructional League because of Tebow's ESPN broadcasting job, which Daniel Palka retweeted and said, quote, the old getting out of instructs to broadcast trick. We've all been there at some point or another. Tricky. I think that's probably the feeling for a lot of guys. I have not changed my opinion. As I said last 2 weeks ago when we first discussed this, if Tim Tebow ever gets a serious look in a full season league, I will be shocked. Does not even encapsulate the emotion to me. Will he make it to Brooklyn? Will it be kind of a PR stunt to sell tickets, to sell jerseys? Maybe. I don't know. Maybe he'll get a nod in short season ball. I can't conceive of a GCL stint or something like that. I think if they're going to send him out there, they're going to want to send him to a minor league market where you can merchandise and sell tickets and that kind of stuff. I mean, the business is part of the name of the game. But I don't think we'll ever see him with the Columbia Fireflies, the St. Lucie Mets, or certainly not the Binghamton Stud Muffins.
Well, that's to be determined whether it's the actual Binghamton Stud Muffin. But no, I mean we're in agreement on this. Anybody who listened a couple weeks ago knows this. The part of the conspiracy in me, you mentioned the business aspect. The Mets own the Brooklyn Cyclones,
right?
So they actually do get. We've talked in the past about that's not how the minors work. You don't sign a guy to sell tickets in Class A because you don't get that money. Well, the Mets actually would get that money from their short season affiliate.
Right.
Also, I think they own the St. Lucie Mets. So if you got pushed to high A, which again neither of us is predicting, but if you did get pushed there, that would be a great sell. In a typically tough to sell market. So it's intriguing that he picked the Mets. There were rumors that he was going to go to the Braves. Again, the conspiracy theory in me knows that the Braves own a lot of their minor league affiliates. Right. There's a reason why it's the Gwinnett Braves, the Mississippi Braves, the Rome Braves. So it's interesting that those were the two teams to look at him. But as you mentioned, according to, I think it was Colin Cowherd. So, save your thoughts on Colin Cowherd for a moment, but I believe it was
the takes are scorching.
Yeah, who reported that Tim Tebow had 10 offers from 10 major league organizations, and the Mets were the only one to tell him it's okay if you miss part of instructs for this SEC network commitment, which is fascinating that he took it for that reason. And then the other side of his mouth said, I'm all committed.
I'm all serious about this.
I'm fully in it.
Right.
If I'm here, I'm fully committed. And then you're going to leave for this other thing. So I'm fully on board with all the minor leaguers. They have my support in this idea that, you can't sign a guy, tell him he's going to be one of the guys trying to make it through the system and then give him special treatment.
Exactly.
That just feels wrong. A lot of these guys, have other jobs too that they would like to make money on, and they can't skip instructs because they're fighting for their dream. So I would like to see Tim Tebow take that same, route that those guys are. We'll see what happens come the spring. that's going to be its own sideshow. I'm definitely going Florida this year for spring training. I was going anyways. I was probably going to Port St. Lucie anyways. Now I'm for sure going, hopefully a little after the circus dies down. I don't know if I'll be able to break any news at that point, but it'll just be interesting to see with my own two eyes. The Tim Tebow and the Mets system story begins now, and content for all. That's all I have to say.
It's happening. It's all happening. By the way, just in case you're wondering, you too, if you so choose, can head to Tim Tebow's official website where you can purchase autographed baseballs and autographed bats for $125 and $175 a piece. Just in case you were wondering if Tim Tebow was making some money off of this deal, which
I was going to say, are we sponsored by TimTebow.com this week? Because I would change my stance.
It appears, surprisingly, that he's looking to cash in on this as well.
Yeah.
Huh. Yeah, no, I'm on board. If it was a serious attempt, I don't think you would take your SEC network broadcasting job for this year. If it's a serious attempt at, no, I want to do this, I'm going to go full bore. When Michael Jordan tried to play with the Birmingham Barons and later on in the Arizona Fall League, he didn't say, okay, yeah, sure, but I also want to go play in, the World Championships or whatever would have been that summer on the basketball side. It just didn't work that way. And, by the way, Michael Jordan, over the course of his Double-A career, in which he played for 127 games with Double-A Birmingham back in 1994, batted .202 with 3 homers, 51 RBIs, and 30 stolen bases. Not an easy thing to do. Like we said a couple of weeks ago, not even a shot at Tim Tebow. It's just not an easy thing to do to play professional baseball. So, keep it in mind. Although, I don't know, man, the votes on social media are coming in. And according to our site right now, of the early voters, 43 votes have been cast in this democracy that we call America. Oh, now we're up to 46 votes. And 50% of those people say Tim Tebow will make the major leagues. So the takes
it's on the internet. So
the takes are scorching. It's on the internet, so it's got to be true. All right, that'll do it. I promise you, the next time we talk about Tim Tebow, it will be because he made actual news playing the game of baseball. So, in other words, I don't think we'll be talking about Tim Tebow again. Moving on. Number 2. This week, our second segment this week, Dylan Carlson of the St. Louis Cardinals organization, a guy who has gone to the Gulf Coast League and a guy who has succeeded quite well in the Gulf Coast League and soon will have a GCL ring to show for himself. Dylan Carlson, the 33rd overall selection in the first round of the draft in 2016, first round selection of the St. Louis Cardinals, joins the show to talk GCL, debut pro season, and a whole lot more coming up next. Just really hours removed, I would imagine it seems like, from winning a GCL title in his debut season, rookie-level Gulf Coast League action in the St. Louis Cardinals organization. Cardinals prospect in the 33rd overall selection in the 2016 Major League Baseball first-year player draft. Dylan Carlson joins the show. Dylan, I would think a pretty wild last couple of days. What's the celebration been like for you guys?
Definitely. It's been real exciting. This team's really special, and come out and win the championship in my first year with this team, something I'll always remember. We put in a lot of hard work, and for it to pay off the way it did, it's very exciting.
Not only did the GCL Cardinals come away with a title, but one step up the ladder in the Cardinals organization, Johnson City also won a championship in the Appy League, so a good start to the minor league postseason in the St. Louis Cardinals organization. But it's been a good start all around for Dylan Carlson, who, like I said, was taken in the first round, 33rd overall selection of the draft back in June. Dylan's still just 17 years old, taken out of high school in Elk Grove, California. And Dylan, I mean, to get from where you were, this time 3-4 months ago to this stage now, professional baseball, just kind of give us even though you're in the immediate aftermath of the close of your first season, how do you look back in the last few months ever since you were taken in the draft and got to finally throw on a pro uniform for the first time?
Oh, definitely. I think I've made some serious progress working with our coaching staff. They show us a lot of good things each and every day, learn new things about your game, and, they really help you how to play the game, respect the game. I'm very grateful for this opportunity and this great organization to play in. I'm having a blast.
And Dylan, what's the biggest thing you've kind of learned, or what's the biggest thing that's been surprising to you about pro ball so far? Something that you didn't expect coming into this process back in June.
Something I really didn't expect was how much of a grind the season is. Everyone tells you, it's a tough season. It's long, and I'm not even playing a full season. You understand. Just getting used to playing each and every day, what they're talking about, and the coaches, they help you, and it's, I'd say that's the biggest difference. Just playing every day now, opposed to before where you'd play a few times a week.
And in terms of skills and tools and all that kind of thing, how do you think you've grown the most, at least? I mean, as you said, you haven't even gotten a first full season yet, a first off season yet to kind of prepare for pro ball, but how much of a different ball player are you now than you were when you went through the draft?
Oh, I'd say I've improved a lot. Working with these coaches, they've definitely done some things with my approach that have really helped my game. Situational hitting, stuff like that. Just trusting what they're saying. It's you start seeing things change, and it's good to see.
Dylan, when you step onto a professional field for the first time, one of the things we talk about with guys in rookie ball is it's not just the quality of the competition that gets, vastly improved over what you saw in high school, but the quality of your teammates is the same way. And that's a really cool facet for a lot of guys getting into pro balls. You get to be around guys who every day kind of force you to up your game a little bit. I mean, who have been some of the guys that you've really learned from or bonded with, or some of the guys that you've shared this GCL experience with, who you're going to be able to take some steps up the ladder with and get to continue to grow as ball players?
Oh, I mean, there's definitely a lot of good players. I mean, everyone out here is very talented, but some guys I definitely have learned some things from, some college guys. Our first baseman, Stephen Trosclair, talented hitter out of Louisiana, Lafayette. He kind of took me under his wing a little bit, talked a lot of baseball with me. He's I'm very grateful for what he's done. And, of course, Delvin, he's Delvin Perez, our talented shortstop, a big part of our success. Playing with him, definitely elevates your game, makes you want to play better. A lot of fun to be around, a lot of energy. This team was just awesome, though. I mean, everyone on the team contributed. The coaches did a great job. And, definitely, as you said, the skill of your teammates just vastly improves, and playing with each and every one of those guys makes you want to elevate your game.
One of the things it's almost more of a football cliche, but it plays in baseball as well. Wanting to up your game. You're well familiar with that as the son of a coach. Your father, mm-hmm. your head coach at Elk Grove High School in California, and that's one of the things that I know a lot of scouts said coming into the draft. And being a younger guy coming into the draft, still just 17, people raved about your mental makeup and the way you understood baseball. I mean, what is that baseball IQ wise? What do you think you have from playing under your father, getting a chance to learn? For your entire life, but especially the last 4 years in school, that maybe you would not have had you not played under him at a high school level?
Well, I mean, definitely the way he teaches his players how to respect the game, play the game the right way. That's something that I've learned a bunch from him. Not only him, all the other coaches at my high school, and also the previous players I played with there. We've had a lot of guys drafted out of that high school. Can't thank those guys enough for taking me under their wing, showing me, what it takes, and, playing for my father, great coach out there. He's taught me a lot of things, not only as a player, but as a person. I'm very grateful for that. And, it's just all about playing the game the right way, respecting the game, and, that's how you get it done.
And Dylan, talk a little bit about the draft process for you. Going into the draft, looking around at some various rankings. I don't think MLB.com had you in their rankings, but Baseball America had you at 92. You ended up going in the 30s to the Cardinals. At what point did it seem like the Cardinals were interested in you? And, were you even surprised at yourself to hear your name that high and to get that call in the 30s, or did you expect that to be coming all along?
Going into the day, I really didn't know what to expect. So, I mean, I was obviously very grateful. I was taken at 33. You know, it's an amazing opportunity. You know, draft day was something I'll always remember. You know, I felt I put in a lot of hard work, and, you know, just for it to pay off that way, it was very exciting. And, you know, just was ready to come play baseball. That's pretty much how I looked at it.
Now, getting into the offseason, first professional offseason, which I would imagine is something that you have been excited for a while, and also probably for these last few days. You haven't really wanted the season to end with this dream finish of the year for you guys, but you're there now. You get to go home, and we asked this question of guys, especially in your first season. What's the thing you're most excited about for the offseason to get home, you know, restaurants? We had a couple of weeks ago, Mickey Moniak, the first overall pick in the draft, said his father's cooking was the thing he was most excited to get home and get back to. What's the thing you're most looking forward to get back to when you get home to California?
Oh, definitely seeing my family. You know, haven't seen my little brother since the draft, so that's something I'm really looking forward to seeing. He's also a talented ball player, so I'll be looking forward to working out with him a little bit, seeing what he's been working on, what he's been up to. You know, also getting back to mom's cooking, you know. Also, in and out, you don't got that on the East Coast. That's something. That's something I'll be.
That's what we're always fishing for.
That really is. That's the answer we're always looking for from the California guys. Either Mexican food or in and out.
Definitely. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's something the East Coast is just missing right there.
Well, while we're talking about California going back home, it seems like it was kind of a big year in the draft for Sacramento area guys. You know, you go 33, Matt Manning, I think, goes to 9 with the Tigers.
Yeah.
Just kind of talk about that, what it was like to be part of that for, you know, what seemed like a special year for high schoolers in that region.
Oh, it was amazing. I mean, growing up with Matt, playing Little League and travel baseball with him, you know, both of us going in the first round, that was pretty special. I mean, being childhood friends and all that, you know, it's something you always dream of, and for it to actually happen, it's surreal.
And finally, just, you know, we were talking a little bit about the offseason, but you're going into instructs. You know, what have the Cardinals kind of told you to focus on during that process? What are you looking forward to most about it? Just going back, you know, you have to go back to Florida for that, but what have they told you about instructional league? I don't think a lot of fans know what goes into that. And, yeah, what are you looking forward to most about that?
Oh, I'm definitely looking forward to, you know, playing with meeting more players in the organization. That's something I'm looking forward to. And, of course, working with all the instructors that'll be out here. That's something I'll be looking forward to as well. It's a great opportunity for me. Just makes you a better player. You know, keep working at your game.
Dylan Carlson, the 33rd overall selection in the 2016 Major League Baseball first-year player draft, switch-hitting outfielder in the St. Louis Cardinals system this year, /251, 313, 404 in the rookie-level GCL at 17 years old. So no matter what you were doing at 17, Dylan is likely much better than whatever you were. Dylan, congratulations on a hell of a start to the career, and congratulations on the GCL title. So cool, and thanks a ton for making some time for us, and enjoy the start to the offseason and instructs, and I'm sure we'll be catching up with you down the road.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, with the regular season behind us for a lot of teams and postseason stuff up and in the works, we've got big news already as Benjamin Hill joins the show for this week's first non-regular season edition. Hey, Ben.
Hey, have we ever been regular?
No, no, it's true. We don't need
regular in that it happens each week. But
we don't need enough prunes.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna stay regular in that it happens every week, but I don't think we've really been too regular with our topics of conversation, and that will continue off season, on season, whatever you want to call it. We're always have stuff to talk about.
You know why I like you, Harry? Because you're a regular guy. To the 5 of you who laughed at that, we would be best friends. Hey, Ben, welcome in. New team names are going to be coming fast and furious this offseason, and we have the latest batch of finalists for the Staten Island Yankees, who entering the 2017 season, the New York Penn League affiliate of the New York Yankees, will no longer be known by the same moniker as their parent club. 5 names announced. And let's get right to it. Much like we saw in Lynchburg, where the Hillcats have chosen to remain the Hillcats, and in Binghamton, where the name is still to be announced, 5 names and some crazy ones in here. Let's get it started. The Staten Island Bridge Trolls, Heroes, Killer Bees, Pizza Rats, and Rock Pigeons. Not rock lobsters, rock pigeons. Ben, your thoughts on these 5 for the Staten Island, the artist formerly known as the Yankees?
Well, it's funny. They're in the playoffs right now. So they're playing tonight in State College, and that could be their last game ever as the Staten Island Yankees, because in 2017 they will be one of these 5 things, the 5 names you just mentioned. I feel at this point, for the last couple years, these name the team finalists get announced. We all say, this is ridiculous. How can it get more ridiculous? So I'm kind of immune to that at this point. I think they're always going to be wacky and irreverent. And that's clearly the formula right now, and what seems to be working in the industry. So it is a strange mix of choices, but is it any more or less strange than we've seen in New Orleans, or that we're seeing in Lynchburg or Binghamton, or the last couple years when you have Akron or Pensacola or Lehigh Valley going back? This is just the way things are. So we got Bridge Trolls, Heroes, Killer Bees, Pizza Rats, and Rock Pigeons in Staten Island. Me personally, I like the Killer Bees the best because it's a Wu-Tang Clan reference, Wu-Tang being from Staten Island. And, I just hear Killer Bees and I think, Wu-Tang, Killer Bees on the swarm,
You got to diversify your profile.
What's that?
You got to diversify your profile.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang Financial. I actually did not know that Wu-Tang was from Staten Island.
How did you not know that, Tyler?
I'm not, what's the word? Cool.
With it.
I'm not with it. I'm in no way cool or up on things that cool people would know.
Yeah, I mean, they were cool 20 years ago as well. I mean, this is not a new phenomenon.
But retro knowledge is cool now.
Right. And it was cool then when it was current knowledge.
Right, exactly.
Anyway, that's a Wu-Tang reference. Pizza Rats does have the association with the viral video of a rat carrying a pizza on the subway stairs. The team doesn't reference the viral video specifically in their press release, and they just say, Pizza Rats are tenacious, enterprising, and know where to find the best food in the city, just like Staten Islanders. They're tenacious and enterprising and know where to find the best food. Heroes, could also be a covert food reference, but
that's what I was thinking.
Oh, that's true.
Well, I talked to Staten Island President Will Smith today, and he mentioned that, of course,
the Fresh Prince of Staten Island.
The Fresh Prince of Staten Island, yes. He mentioned that, yes, obviously the hero's name, first and foremost, as the team puts it, honors the civil servants and military personnel of Staten Island, the NYPD and FDNY. You have a lot of representatives in the borough, who have worked for those entities. A lot of public service traditions in Staten Island. But,
and of course, the ballpark, the September 11th Memorial for Staten Island is located right next to Richmond County Bank Ballpark in Staten Island as well, which overlooks downtown Manhattan.
Right, so there's very much that culture and those associations with Staten Island, and yes, as you said, Tyler, especially where the ballpark is located, with the skyline views of Lower Manhattan. But in talking to Will, he said he didn't say anything specific, but he said, read between the lines. We could also have other fun associations with Staten Island heroes, and Staten Island has 4 bridges, connecting Staten Island with places that aren't Staten Island. So we have Bridge Trolls. He said that, several fans had suggested bridges for a name. So the team kind of said, all right, we like where you're going with that, but we're going to, try to make it something that would have a mascot, that would have more visual elements and would be more memorable. So they went with Bridge Trolls. I like what Will Smith is doing and what the current front office staff is doing in Staten Island. I've been going to games there. I think the first game I went to in Staten Island was 2006. And quite honestly, just year after year, there was just never really a New York energy at that stadium. Right from getting off the ferry and walking to the ballpark, you never felt a real sense of energy. And I know a lot of people are saying, how could you abandon the Yankees name? How could you get rid of the Yankees? We're Staten Island and we're the Yankees and this is New York City and blah, blah, blah. But look at the attendance figures over the last decade plus. Was the city coming out to support the Staten Island Yankees? They weren't. And I think they need an infusion of energy. They need to continue doing promotions like they've been doing over the last several years. I think they do need leaders like Will Smith to come in and give it a more modern day and rejuvenated outlook, especially with this huge Ferris wheel being built right outside the ballpark and a lot of development happening around the ballpark. A lot more people are going to be coming to this area of Staten Island right off the ferry terminal, and you need a team that really captures that energy, not just at Staten Island, but out of New York City as well.
And just kind of looking over some of these names, do you think that there's a possibility that some of them just get so crazy that they are trying to push, like let's say, I think Heroes, Killer Bees, those are both legitimate. They're both connections, that whole thing. And then you throw in Bridge Strolls, Pizza Rats, Rock Pigeons, just to fill it out with something crazy, trying to make Heroes look good by comparison. Do you ever think they try to game the system at all that way? Or do you think these are all, like, they would be happy to go forward with any of the 5?
No, I can't speak for Staten Island, but I've retired from handicapping these name the team contests because even with talking to a lot of people in baseball on and off the record, the formula is similar, but the specifics are changed. Some teams go into announcing the finalists already knowing exactly what they're going to do. Some really, take a really specific vote. Some kind of gauge the feedback and go from there. I don't know what Staten Island is doing, but I think after the El Paso Chihuahuas became the Chihuahuas a couple of years back, which even now doesn't seem like a crazy name.
It doesn't seem that bad.
But
at all,
at that time, I said, wow, they went with Chihuahuas. I'm kind of done saying there's a certain name that, no, they definitely won't do that one. Because as soon as you say that, that's the one that's picked. And then something crazier comes along and you say, no, they won't do that. And then that's the one that's picked. This is just where we are right now. And it gets people talking. We're talking about it now. The internet was buzzing about it today. And as I made the point on Twitter generally loves all the wackiness and irreverent names, like especially Pizza Rats. Twitter was all over Pizza Rats today. But if you go to Facebook and you go to, my article on the minor league Facebook, or especially if you go to Staten Island's page on Facebook, then you have the typical worst idea ever, quit your job, fire the marketing team, embarrassment. And it's a real divide of the cross section of fans versus the why change anything camp, which is often represented on Facebook, to Twitter's like, yes, do the craziest thing possible. And I think like most things in life, you have to meet in the middle. You have to find a balance. And no matter what you choose, you have to own it. And I think one thing that teams have been very good at doing, or else this wouldn't keep happening, is owning it. So, the Flying Squirrels might seem like a crazy name, but then when you go to the ballpark and you see how it's branded throughout the ballpark and you see what Richmond and their front office does with it, all of a sudden Flying Squirrels doesn't seem crazy because it's part of a much larger experience. So every time we see these new team names and people going crazy and people saying this is an embarrassment, they don't understand that it's not just a name. It's the way that the team will be branded, obviously with the logo and the merchandise, but also throughout the stadium and the different areas in the stadium, the mascots, and a whole new identity that I think if it's done right becomes all-encompassing and really brings over most of the haters and the people who have a problem initially back to the side of saying, you know what, this wasn't that bad, because I didn't understand how this industry works in the modern or in the 21st century, because what I had was a reference that's 15 years old, that's 20 years old. So I think once you get to know how these things work, you see it in action, there's no fault in not liking it now, but I'd say to people, just keep an open mind until you see it in practice, and probably you will be impressed.
All right, well, let me put it a different way then. Just kind of in a vacuum, let's say you were picking, I know you said you like the Killer Bees, but not to pick to say like which one are they going to take. But if you had to pick one, which has the most potential, to be a great brand, a great merchandising opportunity, a great way to get people finally going out to Staten Island, of these 5 choices, which one do you think has the most potential then?
I think it's tough because there's so many elements and it's what you do with it. And I think it's the way the front office will collaborate and decide on how to push out all the elements of what they do choose. I said I like Killer Bees the best. Part of it is nostalgic. Part of it is my own Wu-Tang Clan, liking them through many years, going back to when I was in high school, and I'm not in high school anymore. But looking at the 5, it's tough to say. I think Heroes is the safest choice, obviously. And while the Staten Island Yankees, or the team currently known as the Yankees, are marketing to all of New York, Staten Island is their base, and maybe a more conservative choice would benefit them. But if you really want to make an impact throughout the city and the country, maybe just go for broke and go with Pizza Rats, go with Bridge Trolls. I really think it depends on what direction you want to take, and it's tough to say what's right or wrong. It's just like anything else. It's what you do with it once you got it and once you've selected it.
Yeah, we've discussed this at length at times in the past, but the two case studies really are the New Hampshire Fisher Cats, who initially unveiled their identity as the New Hampshire Primaries, and then caved to mass controversy over that and changed the name, not wanting to live out that really tough, contentious period where you try to have the fans buy into it. And then on the other side, like Ben said, the Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs are really one of the teams that sort of set the standard. The Richmond Flying Squirrels the same way, of embracing it, running with it, and making it your own. One thing that I find interesting, Ben did a story earlier this year on new minor league ballparks, and in 2017, we won't have any new ballparks, as we've learned, specifically minor league facilities, but what we will have
Hartford.
Oh, true. That's correct. Yeah, I guess we didn't even update that. That's true. So Hartford officially, the team starts in 2016, but the ballpark in 2017. Good point. But as of other than Hartford, we won't have any new ballparks, but we will have new team names for New Orleans, Binghamton. Lynchburg will go back to the Hillcats, so that nothing changing there, but they did have the name the team vote. Staten Island, Kinston, which also has a name the team contest, and presumably Fayetteville as well, depending on what goes on with that situation, if they're the new Carolina League club. So there will be a lot of new identities. So minor league logo and uniform nerds, like some of us on this podcast, get excited because there's a lot coming out next season.
Yeah, it's going to be a busy off season, and hey, more power to it. As long as I have something to do, I'm happy.
Ben gets to be the guy who covers it all. Speaking of one of those teams that actually, we can add this onto the pile, will have a new identity. The Brevard County Manatees are no more, have wrapped up their 2016 season as one of the Florida State League's clubs that in 2017 will be in a new spot in Kissimmee, Florida, with a new facility being built, their spring training facility, which will house Brevard County. And, the Florida State League is often a league that we don't get to touch on a lot because it's just such a different dynamic, and we've talked about that before as to why that is, with some bigger markets and a whole lot of options for other things to do in Florida State League markets, but a lot of really successful teams there in Brevard County, one of those teams that'll be shifting gears and locales for 2017.
Yeah, as you said, they're moving to I always want to say Kissimmee, but Kissimmee. They're moving to Kissimmee to where the Astros formerly had a spring training facility, and now they're just going to play in that facility. That stadium hosted the Kissimmee Cobras about 20 years ago, so it's a return of minor league baseball to that area. And interestingly, they're going to be taking just the name Florida in the team name. Even though they're playing, obviously, in a very distinct locale, they're just going to be the Florida what have yous. But Brevard County is no longer, and I think the fact that they do play in a spring training facility in the Florida State League doesn't get as much publicity. And to be quite honest, the Brevard County team didn't really do much to publicize or really, make a big story out of their last days. We spent so much time, especially last week, talking about the end of High Desert, the end of Bakersfield, that it's kind of over. It's been easy to overlook. No more Brevard County Manatees. Manatees, they are going to Kissimmee. So there's just so much change going on in minor league baseball right now.
And you just had a guest blog post this week, about saying goodbye to Brevard County and what that experience was like. What did you kind of get from that experience, kind of getting a firsthand account of somebody talking about what it's like to lose a team like that from the fan side?
Well, this is a guy, Michael Lortz, who's been reading my stuff for a number of years and who I've met. He was my designated editor when I went to Dunedin in 2015. And, he got in touch and said, hey, I've been going to Manatees games for pretty much the entirety of the franchise existence, over 2 decades, and I'm going to miss it. And would you mind if I wrote something about it? And I said, sure. And one of the reasons I said sure was, one, guest posts are good because it means I don't have to write something. And two, I do feel that Brevard County just sort of disappeared without much fanfare, without much people paying attention to it. So to have someone highlight that, I thought was a good thing. So he called it farewell to the Sea Cows and RIP Brevard County Manatees, who are now moving to Kissimmee, and we'll start a new era there. But you can check out that post on my blog, which is, of course, Ben's Biz blog.
bensbiz.mlblogs.com. A lot more coming to that as well. And Ben's got content from his road trips, which is still going up on the site and will be going up on the blog for quite some time. And one of my favorite stories of the year from Ben is about Princess, the ballpark dog in Reno, a 10-year-old pit bull who was adopted by the Reno Aces. And there are a lot of teams that have, front office dogs on the field, dogs that pick up the bats, dogs that run baseballs to the umpires, that kind of stuff. But Princess is such a cool story because she came on, at an advanced age in a dog's life. And this is really one of the more, kind of loving and heartwarming stories of the season.
Yeah, I mean, I totally fell in love with this dog, Princess, who I met in Reno when I was there last month. But basically, like a lot of teams, the Aces partner with the local chapter of the Humane Society, and they have the Humane Society bring dogs to the ballpark that are adoptable, and fans right there on the concourse can see, the dogs that are adoptable and start to go through the process. So the Humane Society said we have this pit bull, Princess, 10 years old or 9 years old at the time, and the team said, yeah, bring her out, and no one was interested in her. And then the team said, we're going to foster her, and we're going to, through our social media, we're going to, find someone to take Princess. She's such a sweet dog. And months and months went by, and no one adopted Princess. Meanwhile, she's living at, basically she's staying with various front office members. She's at the ballpark every day, and the team fell in love with her. And they wanted to also send a message saying that, a pit bull, people don't adopt pit bulls because that they are associated with being a vicious breed, and they can be if they are bred with those tendencies. But they're super sweet dogs. They have the capacity to be that. So Princess is super sweet. No one will adopt her because she's a pit bull. So the team, specifically Andrew Doherty, the executive vice president now at the team, he went ahead and adopted Princess, and now Princess is at the ballpark every day. She stays with Doherty in his office. Princess comes to the concourse during games sometimes, mingles with the fans. Everybody knows her. The players know her. They sell Princess plush dolls at the ballpark. So it's a great story, and really on a broader level, it's a great story because they are, in their own way, the Aces are saying, consider a pit bull. Don't just write them off as an entire type of dog because of the negative stereotypes. And I think for a team like the Aces in a large market, and with their social media and with the Princess merchandise, spreading that message is really cool. And it is a very heartwarming story. And I got to meet Princess when I was there, and she's just an absolute sweetheart. Anyone who meets her would fall in love with her.
What I think is really cool, too, is, and you may have noted this, I know you did note it in the story, but the Aces also sell Princess plush dolls at the store at the ballpark. And for $20, you can get the plush doll, but $5 of that goes to the Nevada Humane Society. And that's one of the threads throughout this is Andrew Doherty talks a lot about what a pro-dog market Reno is, and that's really neat, too, because you get to not only make a difference in one dog's life, but this dog continues to help out other dogs and other stories of other princesses who maybe they're not going to end up being ballpark dogs, but hopefully they'll find a good home anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even me on a personal level, I'm not in a position to adopt a dog right now living in an apartment in New York City, but it really got me thinking, like, wow, this pit bull is a sweet and adorable creature, and that if I should ever be in a position to adopt a dog, I might now consider that when I wouldn't have before because I met Princess. And I hope other people reading the story might start to think of that, and just the example that Princess and the Aces set in the ballpark every day is a good way to say, like, hey, pit bulls should be considered as individuals and not all lumped together as vicious dogs, which they clearly are all not.
The quote of the story, by the way, is Doherty said, quote, "I don't get it because I could be robbed blind and she'd lick the robber on his way out." That is an awesome dog.
Is that why she was licking Ben?
Probably.
Yeah, yeah. I was the robber. I was the robber on his way out. Yeah, that's for sure.
Before you go, just preview what you've got coming up the rest of the week. I know you got a story coming up Friday that'll be up by the time this podcast is out. So what do you got coming up for that?
Yeah, well, I got 2 more stories for MILB.com based on my road trips, and then I'll retire that element of my content. I have a dispatch from Visalia coming up tomorrow, Friday, and then I think one more on Tuesday from Stockton. Meanwhile, on the blog, I have gone all the way back in time to late June and really filling in the blanks with my Appalachian League visit. So I will be providing full recaps of all those stops. I've already blogged about it in the past and done feature stories, but I like to go back on the blog and really provide a full account of everything that went on during my time at the ballparks. And so I'm going to be, covering off-season stuff like name the team contests, and new logos will come by soon and all that kind of stuff. But on the blog, I will certainly be going back and covering a lot of stuff from this season and from my travels. Still a little bit more to come about that on MILB.com. And it doesn't feel like the off-season yet. There's still going on.
It's crazy. It's crazy, man. Story up as well about Eric the Peanut Guy, the Tri-City Dust Devils. That's up on the site right now. And Ben, thanks, man. This is it's so weird that we're at this stage of the season where we're previewing off-season content, but finishing with a flourish. You're ending. It's like a good BP round. You're ending on a good one, a good several.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. But I got nothing.
It's our perfect finish. Ben, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good.
Final segment of the 75th episode of the Show Before the Show podcast. Man, oh man. 75 episodes. 75. So we record, we do an hour each show. And it usually takes me between an hour and a half and 2 hours to finally produce everything. So let's just cut it down, and we'll go 2 hours for recording and production time for each show. So that's 150 hours divided by 24. I have
math on the podcast.
That's what the people come for, isn't it? Is that not what it is? I have spent 6.25 days of my life recording this podcast. That's amazing. And it's been so worth it because we get to talk to you guys every week about all the latest and greatest in minor league baseball. And before we get out of here, MILB TV, the hottest time of the year to catch all the action on MILB TV with minor league playoffs underway and rolling across the country. Sam, what do you keep an eye on this weekend?
Yeah, so when we're talking about these games, you have to remember by the time you might be listening to this podcast, some of these series might be over. A lot of them are already one game in. Some of them are even more so. So I'm going to just tell you about the Tacoma-El Paso series. I don't think that's really one we've talked about at all this episode so far. Tacoma took a 1-0 lead with a 6-5 win in 12 innings on Wednesday. It's a best-of-5 series, so you're guaranteed at least one other game on Friday. Could go Saturday, Sunday as well. The reason why I picked that is actually for El Paso, the team that is down 1-0 right now. That roster that they have, let me just read you off their top 5 hitters. Manuel Margot, Carlos Asuaje, Hunter Renfroe, Austin Hedges, and Patrick Kivlahan, all 5 of which are either currently or were at one time very legit prospects. Hedges and Kivlahan have major league experience this year. We remember Hedges went on that incredibly hot run at one point. Renfroe, I believe, was named PCL MVP. And Margot is just another really, really good outfielder. So a lot to like in that El Paso lineup. Facing a deficit right now, they could come back, even up that series tonight going into Friday. But any one of those Tacoma El Paso games, you're going to see those 5 guys and throw in Dan Vogelback, Daniel Robertson over there in the Tacoma lineup. Some pretty good guys over there as well. Stefan Romero. Yeah, there's a lot to like in that series. I think if it goes all 5, we'd be the winners. But no matter how long it goes, you can catch all the games on MILB TV. So that's my pick of the week. What about for you, Tyler?
Yeah, make sure you check the site, check the scoreboard, and check the playoffs page as to whether or not the series that we preview are still in progress. But man, I'm not getting off of these Cinderella Gwinnett Braves, who, as Sam put it early on in the show today, continue to rage against the dying of the light. Only so many teams can win a division at 13 games under 500, and you know what? When you get into the playoffs, just go win the damn thing. That's what people on that bus are saying. So the Gwinnett Braves, a 1-0 series lead over the Columbus Clippers. I got to watch that. I got to watch that stuff. I can't. 13 games under 500.
Yep, but it doesn't matter now because
it's like a
right now
6-10 team in the NFL.
500.
Yeah, exactly. That's all that matters. They're 1-0 in the second season.
Yep.
It's like a 6-10 team in the NFL winning a division and making it through the divisional round. Let's say the wild card round. I guess you wouldn't be in the divisional round at 6-10. God, I would hope anyway. So keep on riding that train, G Braves, because you're not going to get many opportunities to do it. Before we get out of here, one thing that we wanted to clarify, because we've seen a lot on the tweets today, and which I don't recommend. I don't recommend ever looking at the tweets or tweeting for that matter. Just the rule number one of Twitter: never tweet. But there has been a lot of discussion from people who are not necessarily well acquainted with the world of minor league baseball as to, man, the Mets are going to sell so many tickets and so much merchandise at Instructional League, which is not how it works.
No. Instructional League, not open to the public, not a thing. I mean,
these are not games.
Go hang out in Port St. Lucie.
Yeah.
And try to catch a glimpse of Tebow driving up his car. It's a very open facility. It's easy to get to. It's heck getting out of there. I can tell you that much. At my experience this spring, but otherwise, it's not like you can go down there and watch him or buy tickets, or there's not going to be a souvenir stand, anything like that. Instructs is exactly as it sounds. It's there for young guys getting their first years in, trying to learn what pro ball is all about. You heard our guest this week talk about how he's just looking forward to, seeing the other guys in the organization. You spend so much of your time with one team. Instructs is a time to mix and match a little bit. Just try out a new position, try out a new pitch, try out a new delivery. Take some time off and then come back at it for a couple weeks just to see what happens. For Tebow, it's try to show the Mets what you have so they can consider either sending you the rumors about him potentially going to the Fall League. I believe that when I see it. Or some other winter league, what is their plan for him going forward once they get a longer look at him other than just his workout? So that's all the Instructs is. It's not anything to plan your week around. You'll hear some news around it of what scouts thought of him at Instructs. You'll definitely hear news about what the Mets thought about him while he's there. I'm sure he'll talk to the media about it. But don't look for it on MILB TV or any real actual news channel.
No, but where you can actually look for Tim Tebow during the Instructional League is on the SEC Network, which will be bringing you coverage all fall long. That'll do it for the 75th edition of the Show Before the Show podcast. Sam is on Twitter. He's at Sam Dykes or MILB. I am on Twitter at Tyler Mon. You can bring us all of your scorchingest, hottest of hot Tebow takes there. And the show you can find on iTunes, you can find on Stitcher, and you can find everywhere else you listen to podcasts. You can give us a rating and a review and a subscription and all that kind of stuff as well. And that will do it for this week's edition of the Show Before the Show. I didn't miss anything, did I? Did I miss anything?
I will throw out one thing. I actually been holding back on this. You can email the podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure we mentioned that. Podcast at MILB.com. Very self-explanatory.
Oh, yeah.
But we got one email this week. I don't know if you saw it, Tyler. Just entitled Boat Owners.
Yeah, I did see the Boat Owners email.
And the first line is, "Hi, will you be curious in getting an email list of boat owners from USA?" I'm going to say no.
How do they know? How do they know that?
If anybody wants to send us
a list of boat owners,
or a list of anything, feel free to reach out through that way.
We like lists.
Or if you want to make our afternoon, just email us something that says boat owners.
Yeah, just do that.
It'll be a good inside joke we all have now.
Totally.
So
I love lists. Yeah. I love lists. I love charts. I love maps like Russell Crowe. I love it all. Boat owners. Okay, that'll do it.
That's it for episode 75.
Talk to you next week. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the minor league postseason. We'll talk to you in a week.